Giannis says the Jazz are the best in the West.
It's not something to be upset about or frustrated. It's going to be hard at first, and especially if you play the best team in the West and you change things. Like we didn't practice yesterday, and it just looks fun. Like when I watch them play, it looks fun. It looks easy. It looks simple. For sure, they look like us last year. And man, when you're in that point and you're playing in that with that confidence, you're hard to beat for sure.
Yeah, we heard Kendrick Perkins here on this show, the Max Kellerman Show here on ESPN Radio, weekdays 2 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus. We heard Kendrick Perkins tell me last week all the reasons why the Jazz are a real threat, and they are. I'm going to echo some of what he said, but I want to get into it a little deeper in terms of the stuff that I've been thinking about. Perk brought up the fact that Donovan Mitchell's great. Of course, everyone knows that. They're extremely well coached by Quinn Snyder. I mean, like, they're well coached and they have a superstar. And Donovan Mitchell, when the stakes are highest, elevates from star to superstar. Those guys are rare. You know, who's normally better all around, Donovan Mitchell or Paul George, when you include defense? Given his size and everything, probably Paul George. But when it matters most, it's not close. Donovan Mitchell by far. Those guys are rare, and they have one. They got a great one. I mean, that show that Donovan Mitchell put on with Jamal Murray in the first round last year, I'll always remember it. I mean, it was probably the greatest show I've ever seen between two dueling superstars in the first round ever. I'm trying to think of any sport. That was unbelievable. 50. I see you're 50. I raise you to 55. Like, it was ridiculous what they were doing. But Denver won the series. And then Denver went on to upset the Clippers. The cardiac kids, right? And then the Lakers were too much for them. But let's just keep in mind for a second that against the Lakers, there were times where it was like, oh, is Denver going to come back on them? The answer was no, but they gave you that feeling at times in that series. And Denver barely beat Utah. And Utah was without Bogdanovich. They barely beat Utah. And really, Utah was without Mike Conley, too. Because Mike Conley never got acclimated last season and really wasn't playing as himself. Mike Conley this year, look at the advanced analytics. Mike Conley, and one of our basketball guys here at ESPN brought this up, and I'm trying to remember who. Mike Conley is putting up like MVP caliber numbers so far. If you look at the advanced analytics, he's completely elite, a stone cold all-star for sure, and then some. And really, when you looked at Utah, I remember thinking, like, too bad Gordon Hayward's not on the team. You know, like, Donovan Mitchell really needs a crime partner, a guy who can go get his own shot when it gets thick, right? Bogdanovich can do a lot of things, and Gobert's great on defense, and you know, they got it. Joe Ingles is a real player. But who's that other star? The answer is Mike Conley. Mike Conley's always been a poor man's Chris Paul. And not like a poverty-stricken man's Chris Paul either. He can do a lot of the things Chris Paul can do in terms of his understanding of the game and his scoring when you need him and his setting up teammates when you need him to. If Conley is this, Utah is dangerous. If Conley is this, and now with Bogdanovich, you'd expect them to get by Denver, for example, in the playoffs. They'd have a real good shot to beat the Clippers in the playoffs. And if AD is anything other than 100%, the Lakers too. Now, in the end, why do you like the Lakers? I know I do. In the end, I like the Lakers because if it comes down to a tough game, give me the team that has the best player on the floor. And as great as Donovan Mitchell is, LeBron is obviously, clearly, and by far the best player on the floor in that series. It's not like there's a close second. So I like the Lakers. But it may not even get to that. Push may not come to shove if AD isn't 100%. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.